Welcome to Sincast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Sincast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hey, what's up?
And music video sins writers Barrett Scher and Jay Lalonde returning to us.
Good to be back.
All right, it is great to have you back. And Barrett, you saw Batman v Superman. I haven't seen it yet. Jeremy hasn't seen it yet. What is your thoughts on Batman v Superman?
I'm as mad as hell. You're out of order.
You've never seen me very upset.
Well, it's terrible. It's real terrible. But,
the end.
Yeah. I went into this trying to find little nuggets that I would like because it's been so vilified. Even though I saw it opening day, it was very, very bad. There was some really good stuff about it. It actually has, and I'll keep it spoiler free, of course, but it has what I think is the best imagining of Bruce's parents' death ever on screen.
Do they tell that again?
They fucking tell that again.
Oh my God.
But, so that's the bad news. The good news is it's really well done.
Yeah, well, I think I don't care that it's well done. How many times have we seen that, and we even get the fake out one in the first Batman, the Tim Burton one. And it's like, how many times do we tell this story seriously? But okay. Oh, that's one good thing, and it's a bad thing for me. All right.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll give it because Zack Snyder is such a visual storyteller, quote unquote, the first action sequence, the first set piece of Bruce Wayne driving through the destruction of the Man of Steel fight is really, really great and kind of compelling. Affleck's chin is great, is beautiful, chiseled.
Yep. I've always thought that since Dazed and Confused. His chin's just amazing.
It really is a good chin.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that, and so you're kind of like in there, like maybe a little something, maybe. Shortly afterwards, Amy Adams gets a little bit naked. You're kind of sitting here thinking like, all right. And then it just tanks. It's hideous. They waste Affleck. They waste Amy Adams as just this random innocuous damsel in distress. I don't know if they waste Jesse Eisenberg or if he wastes himself. Because he plays Lex Luthor is this very strange thing. I couldn't really figure it out. And I don't think he could figure it out.
I get the sense that in a 2.5 hour movie that everybody's probably wasted somehow because they have to spend time with all these different characters that they're introducing just now. The one thing that the Marvel universe did, even though I'm tired of the Marvel stuff now, but I really appreciate how they did it is that they came out with individual movies first and introduced all these characters, and then when it's time for the Avengers, we've already been introduced to all these people. Now Dawn of Justice is saying, here's Batman v Superman, but here's also Wonder Woman, and here's also Lex Luthor, and all these characters.
Aquaman.
Yeah, Aquaman.
I read a review that said, Snyder's trying to do in one movie what Marvel did in like 6.
Yeah.
And that sounded like probably part of the problem. Again, now this podcast comes out a week or so after the movie's been out. I still won't have seen it, right? I'll just be honest with you. Barrett emailed us and said, hey, should we all go see this movie so we can talk about it on the podcast? And Chris and I were like, yeah, no, I'm not going. Because I have heard and read enough, and I know I'm going to see it when we sin it. And I know I'm not going to like it. And I'll just, transition here into a little bit of a Rotten Tomatoes rant because I posted some screenshots over the last few days on Twitter about, right now, Batman v Superman is at 30% with 250 reviews counted.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you don't know there's 2 levels of people who dismiss Rotten Tomatoes, I think. People who don't understand it, and then people who just hate all critics and are super fanboys. And when I post a screenshot, say, fuck you. So Rotten Tomatoes basically is a yes/no from professional movie critics. I know people that have tried to get their reviews that were well written onto Rotten Tomatoes. It's a very rigorous process. These are newspaper, television, and internet professional critics, and they're basically giving it a thumb up or a thumb down. And then the score is the average of that. So this 30% is saying that of the 250 critics that have reviewed this movie professionally, 70% of them think it's bad.
Yeah.
Now, that is overwhelming. Now, on the contrast, Zootopia right now is at 99. 99. So that means when I go in, even if it's not my favorite movie, even if I don't fall in love with it, I know I'm going to see quality.
I know that there was a thing with Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know if they still do this or not. I think some people still hold on to this, but even if you do hold on to this, you have to realize that it's still not enough to impact it. But they used to do this thing. used to go through and read actual individual reviews in Rotten Tomatoes, and there would be a guy that would show a tomato next to his name, like, oh, he liked it. And I'll read it, and it's like, well, he kind of didn't like it.
Right.
And I still put a tomato next to it. Now, I still have a feeling that even if that happens once in a while, that's still not enough to say, well, it's not really 30%. If you did the adjustment, it's probably about 60%. It's not like that.
Well, what they have now underneath the main score of Fresh or Rotten, the first thing is average rating, and it's basically a 10-point scale. So this movie is rated by these 250 critics as a 5.1 out of 10. So flunking out of any school ever.
Yeah, they're not exactly 538, but that I didn't need Rotten Tomatoes though to understand that this movie was going to be a giant turd.
Well, and I made a video in December on my side channel about the trailer where it's going to be 2016's Terminator Genesis, and I was just trying to find something outrageously bad to make a great joke, and it looks like I might have been right.
Yeah. Now, critically, of course, yes, you're right. The money, however, it made $82 million over the Thursday.
Yeah, they're not going to stop.
Yeah. So the Thursday night previews and the Friday showings, it made $82 million. It's probably going to end up making about 160 or something like that over the weekend.
Overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it doesn't really matter whether or not everybody came to watch this movie and disliked it. Warner Brothers is sitting pretty.
Well, and here the audience score is 73%, which is not great. But yeah, audience is going to enjoy it more than the critics on almost every movie ever.
Yeah, and think about it. The first 2 days, you're going to get all the people who love Batman and Superman coming out and watching it. And of course, they're going to be like, well, yeah, I liked it. And
I don't know, man. Like at the end of, in my theater, primetime Friday, downtown Chicago, like from that first scene, you could tell everybody was on board, and you heard kind of gasps and things like that. And by the end of it, people were literally just squirming in their seats like they were watching The Revenant, but it was because of the dialogue.
Yeah.
I heard there's some really bad dialogue.
Yes. And at the end of it, the first thing, because people were waiting for a post-credit scene, which I don't think there was one. I didn't wait around. But the first thing I heard after a second of silence was this guy that was fucking boring. And then everybody just quietly filed out after that.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
All right. Well, Batman v Superman was originally slated to come out against Marvel's Captain America Civil War.
Yep.
And then it got pushed to March so that it would avoid that, because it knew that, I think Warner Brothers knew that going up against the Marvel machine right now is not a wise idea, even though they tried to play a battle there for a bit, and we're not moving. And then finally, okay, we'll move.
After Winter Soldier came out, I think they kind of saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah. But that leads us right into what we're talking about today, and that's the summer movie releases.
For the summer. Cold for the summer. In the summertime.
Where do we want to start on this? The summer movie season really, over the past few years, has kind of started in March, even though April is usually kind of a wasteland. I mean, but every once in a while you'll get something like a Furious comes out that's a summer movie that'll come out in April or whatever. But March really kind of kicks it off. It's what kind of gets us into that. So do we want to start with April and then move our way into May and get into Civil War and all that? And what do we want to do?
Well, that would be fantastic if I had dated my list of movies coming out this summer.
Well, I'm going to tell you this: the only thing in April that I can see that I'm definitely going to watch. There's two. Hardcore Henry. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah.
But then Keanu is the other.
Yes.
Now we've talked about Hardcore Henry enough, but Keanu is Key and Peele making their first movie, and I'm there. I mean, I love Key and Peele so much that I'm there. The trailer is not like a laugh out loud funny, but I have faith in them. So what do you think about this?
I think it's a good trailer.
I was just at South by Southwest, and they aired it there, and a lot of people seem to like it. And now those are like, the hippest of the hip. These are like, film festival goers. They wouldn't miss it for anything. But if there's one story coming out of South by this year, I would say that this was one of the films that did the best there.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see it.
There's a couple other April movies that are worth talking about, good or bad. We have Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, and The Huntsman, the inexplicable follow-up to Snow White and the Huntsman. That somehow got made.
I don't know if I may have to. I don't know if I want to, but I may have to go back and watch Snow White and the Huntsman and see if this movie is even possible. The prequel here and everything. I'm sitting there going, what? All the stuff that's going on in this movie doesn't make sense for the next one for me. But maybe I just tuned out or whatever. Yeah, that movie looks completely unnecessary. What was that other one that you just
Jungle
said?
Book.
Oh my God. See that? Okay.
And this is the first of two live action Jungle Book movies coming.
There's two Jungle Book movies?
Yep. The next one is directed by Andy Serkis.
Okay. So here's the thing about Jungle Book. And I noticed this as I was watching trailers for the summer. There are a lot of these type of movies coming out this year.
Yeah.
You have the Jungle Book, you have the Legend of Tarzan, and Pete's Dragon even has some of the same elements to it. It's little boys in the jungle, befriending animals. And I don't know what the difference is between any of these, really.
I just want a snippet, Barrett, later of just that second of him saying little boys in the jungle. So I can, manipulate it and do things.
Absolutely. Manipulate away.
They do all have a very similar looking aesthetic. I can understand one live action Jungle Book and not two. And, if Andy Serkis is going to do a whole mocap thing and direct it, that's the one I would rather get behind. But there's nothing, I'm not going to see anything new here, am I? I mean, it's basically a story we already know with a Life of Pi slapped on top of it.
Yeah, well, they also already made a live action Jungle Book in the 90s with Jason Scott Lee.
Wow, I forgot that.
Yeah, and it's just, how many times do we have to see this movie? It's so grating when you see a trailer for something like this.
Yeah. All right, should we move into May?
Yeah, let's do it.
I have now found a list, and I'm just kind of coordinating. So the big one in May is obviously Captain America: Civil War, and again, we've talked about that one ad nauseum. So let's talk about the other big comic book movie that month, and that's X-Men: Apocalypse.
A movie that I think may actually suffer from the comic book overload. After Batman v Superman and then Civil War, which should still be going decently strong by that time, although I have a sort of thing in the back of my head that Civil War might end up being a bomb comparatively. It'll still do really good business or whatever. I don't mean to say bomb as in failure, but like they're going to see some decline, I think, because of the way things, just the fatigue. And, but then that will set off, Fox, I think, is really stupid for coming out with X-Men Apocalypse, 3 weeks after Civil War.
Yeah. Well, and I'm and this is where I always sound like I hate everything, but I really loved First Class. And then I felt like Days of Future Past was a little bit of a step back, vibe wise. So I'm not really looking forward to this anyway, really. I mean, I'll see it. I might like it. I enjoyed Days of Future Past. It's not as much as I wanted to. But not only that, coming out 3 weeks after Civil War, have you seen the trailer for X-Men Apocalypse?
Yeah, it looks like it looks like every other comic book action movie at this point. It just doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, how high are we going to raise the stakes? Like now it's a god. Now it's,
Well, we're doing that with Avengers too, because we're going to get to Thanos. And I'm like, okay, well, once we kill God, who do we fight next?
Yeah. I that's the thing about the Apocalypse trailer that I was just sitting there like, oh, you're fighting a god. So what's the weakness here?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you end up killing this?
He's allergic to Earth.
Oh yeah, there's going to be something like that. It's going to be like water, or or germs, or something like that. It's going to end up killing him.
He's going to get allergies.
Yeah.
The Zika virus comes to kill him.
he's like, we did not prepare for this.
Yeah.
I think this may be a month full of unnecessary movies.
What about Snowden? The Oliver Stone film comes out in May.
Okay, well, that was off my radar, but who's in that?
That's Shailene Woodley, Nick Cage, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't know. I'll go see anything Oliver Stone puts out. I think you have to. He's a great filmmaker. But if you saw Citizen 4, then I think you have to see Snowden. So
yeah, and that's the thing also for me is once I've seen like a documentary like Citizen 4, and then they come out with the Hollywood version of it or whatever, I'm like, I don't really need to see this, do I? I mean, I've seen the big story on this.
Well, it's sort of like that movie Joseph Gordon-Levitt made where he walks across I saw Man on a Wire or whatever,
right?
To see the dramatization of it, right?
Right. And and that's the thing, when you see Man on Wire and you see what they do in the actual movie, you're like, that didn't happen. None of that stuff that they're talking about happened. So why are you doing this?
The documentary is much more impressive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Totally.
All right, so some other unnecessary films in May. Alice Through the Looking Glass. We're going back to this universe again. Tim Burton.
The thing with that movie, with Alice in Wonderland, the movie came out 3 months after Avatar, and they made it 3D and all that. So it got this huge boost from people actually thinking 3D was awesome at the time that Avatar came out. So it got this huge boost from that. I don't think very many people actually liked the movie, but it made tons of bank. And this one is not, Tim Burton didn't direct it. He's producer, although, it looks very much like a Tim Burton movie. Yeah. I can't see this one connecting. I just can't.
We're going to go back to Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising. Anyone?
Yeah. You know what? I kind of enjoyed the first Neighbors.
Yeah, I did too.
But why do we need the second one? Why do we need it?
It's like the Hangover sequels. It's just going to be the same shit.
It's the exact same thing. Yeah. You're exactly right.
But it's a girl this time.
A lot of young talent. Gerard Carmichael had the big role in it last time, and it was a surprise. And now he's got his big show on, I believe, ABC. And I think he's going to play a much bigger role in this one. But I'm with you. We don't need it.
This is a Strike While the Iron is Hot sequel, and we were seeing a lot of these this summer too.
Speaking of not striking while the iron's hot, we also get the Angry Birds movie.
Yeah.
And this movie's not going to do anything, right? I mean, little kids might go see it, but this is way too late to matter.
Well, and man, a movie like this, man, there's so many things to deconstruct, but when you play Angry Birds and you enjoy Angry Birds, you don't really care much about the story involved.
Is there a story?
Yeah, and there really isn't. They try to make it like one, like, oh, the pig has stolen the babies, and then every time you conquer a level, it's like, I conquered them, and then it's like, no, there's an alive pig that still has the babies, and it just keeps going on. But you see the trailer for this, and it's like. what this is nothing. This has nothing to do with why you enjoy the game Angry
Right.
Birds, and it's
Right.
why it's impossible nearly to make a movie out of a video game a lot of times, because what you enjoy about a video game is always going to be different than what you would enjoy in a movie.
Right. All right. Well, let's end May on a note that's positive. A movie that I think Chris and I both really want to see. The Nice Guys. Have you guys seen the
Yeah.
trailer for this?
Oh yeah.
This is Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, and it's the dude that wrote Kiss Bang Bang. I can't think of his name right
Shane Black.
now. There you go. And the trailer looks great. I'm all in. It looks like a weird, violent, funny romp.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, it probably won't connect, unfortunately. It's just one of those type of movies because it's a period piece, and people aren't going to probably flock to see this, but I hope they do, and I hope they go and see Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, because that's one of the most underseen movies that you can think of. That's just, the quality of it is great.
Yeah.
And this looks like more of that type of fun, and even when Shane Black was writing stuff like Lethal Weapon and Long Kiss Goodnight and all that, those things were fun too.
I love Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah, it's got so many great quotable lines in it.
It does.
The music in that trailer for The Nice Guys is Mark Ronson featuring Mystical, Feel Good in This Mother, which was never a hit, even though it was a terrific song. And it's almost like it's tailor-made for this particular trailer. It was off the Uptown Funk. Can I ask you guys, before we move on to May,
June.
have you guys seen the trailer for Money Monster?
Yeah, I did see it.
No.
And it reminds me of John Q.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Nobody's going to see it?
Yeah, that's one part of it.
I feel like I know the movie already. It's like, it has George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and somehow there will be some weird, awkward, like romantic things happening there, and then there's a bomb, and somehow the world is saved.
Right.
Am I right?
And also that week after when they've done this for, I guess, now about 20 years, where the big, huge first summer blockbuster comes out in the first week of May. I remember it mostly with Twister coming out. Back in 96 was when they first started doing this. The week that follows that, almost always a garbage dump. Movies that they don't feel very strongly about usually get that slot, because they know that they're still competing with the second week of that big blockbuster. And I think I can't remember what came out. I think it was something like The Arrival, that Charlie Sheen movie, came out in 96 after Twister, but that was a fun movie anyway. But nobody really, Money Monster just looks like this looks like a lot of movies I've seen before. Inside Man, Falling Down, all these that type of movie. So it might be worth watching with the actors, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into June, and I have a feeling I'm going to say this for every month moving forward, but I think I spoke too soon about which month was the month full of too many unnecessary sequels.
This one is the month of twos.
I mean, we've got Independence Day 2. Good God. Now You See Me 2.
Yep.
The Conjuring 2.
Yep.
Finding Dory, which will probably, maybe, hopefully be good. Originals, well, let's just talk about those first. Independence Day. God, what the hell are they thinking?
Yeah, it just is another one of those where it's like we're hoping your nostalgia of the 90s carries this through, and it looks like it's going to.
Yeah.
Almost every time I've seen that trailer with an audience, there's a buzz. I'm like, oh, it's back. And for me, it's like that was a movie that was good to be one movie, and it didn't need to be a second one. But they're doing that little we're using their technology, and now it's one of those. They're coming back for it or whatever.
Yeah. Now You See Me Too. I pretty much hated the first one.
Right.
But it made a bunch of money. It was one of those surprise hits.
That first one bothered me so much. The Mark Ruffalo character all the way through it doesn't make any sense when you think back to all the things that he does in the movie to be a regular FBI agent, and then find out, oh, here's the big surprise.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did you do all this other stuff in the earlier part? If you were, you nearly risked your life because of some of
Now
this.
come join the carousel of magic.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Guys, what about Pop Star, the Andy Samberg film?
Yeah. I was going to talk about that. I'm interested in it. I like the Lonely Island stuff. And the documentary style of this comedy looks really funny to me. Like, especially the part where they say he's surrounded by yes men, and he throws the basketball and turns around, and he's like, and everybody like goes, "Oh!" and he totally misses the shot. I love stuff like that, and it looks like it's very interesting. I hate the title of it though.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie. That's a title that a lot of people are just going to, they're just going to dismiss it. Unfortunately, Pop Star, Never Stop Popping, or whatever. What is it?
Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yeah, Never Stop, Never Stopping. I mean, come on. You need to make that a little bit of a punchier title, and I think people would go to see it. But now we're just going to go with a silly title.
Yeah. What about Warcraft? Now this is from Duncan Jones.
Yeah, it is. But we only have like one movie really to judge Duncan Jones on, and Moon is great, but I've seen this so many times where a talented director makes his independent hit, and then he jumps immediately to like the huge CGI movie, and it rarely ever succeeds.
Well, is there any audience, even if this thing's fantastic, outside of people who play the game? Like, I never played the game. I can tell you,
same here.
I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah,
if it's awesome, I'll find out later on, and I'll pop in a DVD and I'll see what the deal is. But there's zero interest for me here.
Plus, this is a trailer that I've seen probably 5 or 6 times in movie theaters, and I have not heard anybody being excited about it. There's a lot of nervous tension about that movie. You can tell that even the nerds are like, I don't know if I want to watch this.
Please don't ruin this thing we love. Like, yeah, even the people who play the game might be nervous.
Right. And it's the same. We have there's actually a lot of video game adaptations coming out, and it's all the same deal. What do you like about the game that translates to the movie? Ratchet and Clank is another one that comes out in April, I think. And then you have Angry Birds, and then this, and Warcraft doesn't look appealing at all to me. It looks like yet another, medieval Lord of the Rings, whatever type, knockoff movie.
Yeah.
Just a side note to this, which is a bit of a diversion. What's the best video game movie ever made? Is there been one that's been super successful, or is it like Resident Evil is the
I'm
best
sure
one?
there's one.
Resident Evil might be closest to the best, and then Mortal Kombat, the first one, is fun enough. Like it gets almost some of the things that you would like about a game in a movie, except the tournament that they fight makes no sense.
You've got Christopher Lambert, so everything's fine.
Yeah, Christopher Lambert. But like, yeah, exactly. Every time I think about that question, I think about Resident Evil and I think about Mortal Kombat. Neither of those movies are great by any means.
Silent Hill was pretty good.
Yeah, Silent Hill. Now that's one that, that's a good one. Real visually stunning movie too.
You guys seem to be forgetting Super Mario Bros. From 1993.
We are not forgetting that movie, sir.
Bob Hoskins.
You take that back.
I take it back.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper, though. Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, exactly.
You remember that Double Dragon movie with that guy from Party of Five?
Yeah, I remember the movie. I don't remember why. I mean, I didn't never see it, but I remember it coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Nostalgia.
yeah, and then all those others, like Street Fighter is obviously considered one of the worst movies ever made, and Resident Evil didn't need to be 5 different. They're making another one too. Another one's coming out.
Yeah,
I
somebody
think later
died.
in the year. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that the chances aren't real high for Warcraft to be terrific.
Not
right?
especially. And the last time they tried to do epic epic movie type of stuff with a video game was Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, and nobody liked that movie. That was another one that's frequently cited as not, one of the worst movies or whatever. So, yeah, how do you translate that? It's not like a book. Video games are really hard to make into something that you would like as a movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, do we want to talk about Finding Dory at all? Anybody got strong feelings? Anybody wary?
I am wary of it. I think Pixar. There was a point where they were 10 for 10 for me, and I even like Cars when when it first came out. But then as they started making sequels and some of their original stuff started to like not be as good. Like I don't like Brave very much. Cars 2 was awful. What was the other? There was a few others that
Good Dinosaurs crap.
Yeah, I didn't see that yet, but I mean, I'm hearing that's bad. So Pixar has finally, over the past few years, got a dent in their reputation a little bit. You can't really totally be sold on a movie that they make anymore, which is unfortunate, but hey, it was bound to happen. But now it's like 50-50. You get an Inside Out, but then you get a Good Dinosaur.
Yeah.
So this right here is everything that I see about it just seems like another cash grab to me.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. I love the first one.
Speaking of cash grabs, Idris Elba is just going to be collecting checks all summer long. He's in like 5 films this summer.
Wow.
I'm not like Star Trek Beyond, Finding Dory, The Jungle Book, and he's in like 3 other films throughout the year.
He might even show up in Civil War.
Yeah, right.
And Idris Elba can collect all the checks he wants.
I agree.
I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's use that, though, to transition into July and talk about Star Trek Beyond, because we've really only seen one trailer that Simon Pegg, who wrote the movie, said was terrible. So what do we expect here? Anything? Nothing?
Yeah, I'm not excited about this either. And I kind of like Justin Lin as a director. He's obviously capable of doing this, but the movies that he's directing are crap. And this Star Trek Beyond, he just doesn't look like the right director for it.
Yeah. Well, we've also talked about Ghostbusters plenty on a recent podcast based on the trailer, but I think it's worth at least mentioning that I don't think any of us are super hyped for that, right?
No, but I will give it a chance. I mean, it's not like, oh, the trailer's awful, I'm not going to watch it.
Right.
And I think Paul Feig has sort of, I mean, I'm not as high on Paul Feig as a lot of people I know are. Cause Bridesmaids is not my favorite movie. I mean, The Heat isn't, it's just, there's funny things about it. I don't think they're bad movies in any way, but I'm not as big.
Yeah. You'd think that just the natural chemistry between at least and this sounds terrible that I'm excluding Leslie Jones, but at least between the 3 other characters of Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig and Kate McKinnon, you'd think they're just so good that something good is going to come out of it. And the only thing, I actually watched the trailer again before Batman v Superman, and Kate McKinnon almost makes me want to watch that movie just by remaining essentially silent throughout the trailer. Like,
it's
she just looks intriguing to me.
It's not an original joke, but I did laugh at that part in the trailer where the 2 of them say, "Let's go" at almost the exact same time, and it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I agree. There's a lot of talent here, and one bad trailer doesn't scare me away.
Right. And I get the sense too, especially since you were talking about like, with all these different actresses that play off each other really well, that there are a lot of things that we're not seeing in this trailer. And it's also something that, who's to say that Sony didn't go down and say, we need a trailer now. And they just got some intern to go over and cut a trailer real quick. And,
all right,
and
Bill,
here it
take
is.
care of it.
Yeah. Well, the directors don't get to cut their trailers. So,
yeah. So like how at some point, that they'll probably make a new one and we'll be like, oh, okay, this is a lot better than I thought. So I'm not judging it on the trailer yet. I'll definitely be watching it.
July will also see my personal most anticipated movie of the summer, and it's Jason Bourne. And anyone out there listening who wants to say that's an unnecessary sequel, you go to hell.
You go to hell and you die.
The 3 Damon Bourne movies are some of modern action's best, in my opinion. And the third one in particular just really resonates with me on a lot of levels, and I am geeked to see them back.
Now, here is I'm going to watch this movie obviously because I'm the same way. I love all the Bourne movies, and but this trailer, and again, we can't judge everything on a trailer, is just a Super Bowl spot. I don't think they've come out with the full one yet.
Right.
It's Jason Bourne in Kickboxer, basically. Jason Bourne in Bloodsport. It's him doing this underground fighting stuff that Jean-Claude Van Damme made popular back in the late 80s.
It made me think of Sherlock Holmes, the movie with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, exactly. And Far and Away. But yeah, I mean, I'm there. You say Damon is Bourne, I'm there. I'm not going to question it, so it's one of those things.
Well, he wrote it too. He actually did the screenplay on this one.
Oh, wow.
So, and then Alicia Vikander from Ex Machina is in it as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Nice. And he's an Oscar-winning screenwriter, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now let's go from the peak to the valley and talk about Ice Age Collision Course, which I think is the fifth one of these motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's the fifth one.
God damn.
Yeah, dude, I watched this trailer last night, and the thing that kept going through my head was I don't think I've seen anything more unnecessary in my life.
Well, you could have said that about the third one.
Right.
I don't even think. I think I saw parts of the second one. I know I saw the first one. What is there an audience, Chris? Do you know if these movies make a bunch of money, or are we just does this guy have something on the studio?
No, they do. I believe the last Ice Age. I mean, now at this point, Fox does not care about the domestic gross, but the domestic gross is good enough. But internationally, these movies make. I believe the last one or the third one made $1 billion or close to $1 billion worldwide. Jeez. I'll have to look that up, but it was one of those surprise, I didn't know that movie made $1 billion, and it was one of those, and it was, so yeah, they have obviously a lot of, incentive to come out with another one of these, even though the franchise is super old at this stage, but, yeah, unfortunately, they make lots of money. So,
I mean, the first one came out. I was working in the theater. It had to be in 2002 or something, right?
Yeah,
so
I think it was 2001.
Where all the kids who love that movie are in college or working now.
Here's an example: Ice Age Continental Drift, which was the last one that came out in 2012. Domestic gross 161, kind of middling. Foreign gross, 715 million. It made worldwide 877 million. That's the fourth movie. And then the one before that, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, I believe is the reason. Well, and that also made about the same amount. 196 domestic, 690 foreign, 886 million worldwide. So they're not making these for us. They're making this for, everybody else. I
had this conversation at lunch the other day with a friend of mine about how the global box office is really what matters now, and that's we're gonna see Transformers movies till the cows come home, even if they stop making money here because they make bank in China. And he was asking me, about that market, and we don't really know much about it, right? This is a communist nation. We don't really know exactly. Hollywood doesn't, which movies are going to explode like Ice Age Continental Drift and which ones aren't. And it's an interesting time, I think, for movies, just because I think they're still trying to figure out that international audience. But yes, the main important thing is American film lovers, you don't matter that much anymore.
Yeah, that they look at the foreign now, and China is become. I think it's the second largest box office country in the world now, and it's probably going to be number one soon. The U.S. Now tries to get. I think it's 27 movies into China now. It's something like it's. I don't remember what the total is, but there's a limit to how many they can put in. And that's why you see stuff like in The Martian where it's like China bails them out, that type of thing.
Or Iron Man 3 did the Chinese doctors that save him at the end with that surgery.
Right.
They even had extra footage in that movie for the Chinese version that we didn't see here in America.
Yeah, and the last Transformers had, like, even in Texas, Mark Wahlberg's going up to his ATM and it's some Chinese bank or something like that. Doesn't really make any sense, but hey, we want to placate the Chinese there. That's the thing. And I've been reading too that, the Chinese film goers, are wise to this and everything, but it can't be too many people are wise to this because they're coming out in droves to watch this stuff.
We have several Chinese listeners to this podcast.
Not anymore. Not after this podcast, probably.
We have podcasts, so shout out to everybody around the world, like from Bangladesh and from Estonia and really everywhere.
That's awesome.
Jeremy, your voice is huge in Astoria. Or Estonia. Astoria, Queens, too, for that matter.
Right.
Excellent.
Indeed. Our world domination is close.
All right. Well, I think we can put that month to bed and move on to August. Unless anyone's dying to talk about Legend of Tarzan.
Not really, other than what I've already said, is that after you're done with the Jungle Book, are you going to want to watch this?
Yeah, no. August it is.
So with August, can Suicide Squad fucking come out already?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Right.
And this movie looks fun. This movie looks a lot of fun.
Yeah, it may be, DC and Warner Brothers saving grace, right? If this thing is somehow good, and it may help erase, all the bad mojo that Batman v Superman's giving them, and maybe moving forward they can still salvage something.
It's almost like they feel like with stuff like Batman v Superman, they have to be super serious about it. We have to make this serious and take it seriously and everything. And what you get is the product that Barrett was ranting about. The Suicide Squad, it looks like they didn't care who they're not trying to project this to everybody in the world.
Right.
And they did their thing and it looks like, everybody's loose and just having a great time. And man, it can't get here fast enough.
In many ways, it's maybe going to do what Deadpool did in terms of just letting creative people who really respect the source material make something that's true to that source material. It looks like it so far, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
If this movie does do well, and you put Deadpool and Suicide Squad next to each other, the problem is that this Batman v Superman is still going to make tons of money. So, which side did they pick? Do they say, well, it looks like anything we do is fine. We don't care,
I refuse to believe that the studio heads do not notice when there's this much bad press about their film. I think they may still look at the dollars and go, yes, we're moving forward, but maybe this is just my hope and I'm projecting myself. They have to want to do better. They don't want people to trash their movie. They want to make money, but they still want people to say good things about it, right?
Yeah, I think that's true to some extent, but there were so many movies I remember, and I don't have any specific ones right now, but I do remember when certain movies would come out and it made a lot of money, and then you talk to people and you realize nobody really likes this movie. Made a lot of money, but nobody really likes it. They'd still, go forward with that sequel. And it's like, did enough people say, I really want the sequel, so that you went ahead and spent all the money on it? Cause then the sequel comes out. Of course, nobody watches it because it's, they didn't like the first one, but it made a lot of money. So we came out with a sequel.
But I mean, even Paramount, I think they want people to like the Transformers movies. That's why they did that whole writer's room, and they brought in some prestigious writers, and I feel like they're at least trying to, while we make all of this cash, let's try to make them a little better, because I think maybe they get tired of people trashing the Transformers movies. I feel like if I was a studio head, it would drive me crazy to look at Batman v Superman right now and see 30% and people just trashing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to make money, but they're human beings. So maybe I'm just projecting. Never mind. Let's move on. Into August is kind of thin. We've got Pete's Dragon.
You don't like August? This War Dogs. Do you guys see the War Dogs trailer?
I haven't seen it yet.
Don't think I did.
It's the one with Jonah Hill and Miles Teller.
Okay. No, I didn't see this trailer.
Gun runners in Iraq. And I don't know what relation it is to a true story. The first I saw was the trailer last night of the movie, but it looks awesome. And it brings up two things to me. First, Jonah Hill's decided to be fat. But, he was going back and forth there for a while, and cool, man. Just he found his way, and it's fat. The other thing is, I think Miles Teller is like right on the verge of like a Fassbender, Tom Hardy type of breakout.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. As far as he might be more going toward Sean Penn territory than those guys. Like
he doesn't make a lot of friends.
Yeah, he's. I mean, unfortunately, that's the thing. Is some of these people who are massive jerks. They'll. I mean, if you're good enough, if you can transcend it like Sean Penn, you'll have a career.
Yeah.
But, and I hesitate to say Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton was always known for being a dick. And Michael Keaton's had a great career though, but he had that sort of that purgatory there for a while where he just wasn't in any big movies. Now he's had a comeback and everything. But, that being a dick thing does count for something. It cuts you down a little bit.
Speaking of Michael Keaton, he has a movie in August. It's about the founder of McDonald's called The Founder.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a trailer, but I think they released a poster earlier this week, and he's having a resurgence. So people are, I think, interested in this.
This is one that I think I looked for a trailer for, and YouTube gave me a whole bunch of other trailers for it. So it's like for something else. So it hasn't come out yet.
It's a biopic in August, so they're probably not trying to pre-hype too much.
Yeah.
But a movie that did have a trailer was Ben-Hur. Did you guys watch this trailer?
I saw it. Yeah.
It feels like the exact opposite of what it should be.
I mean, it's another movie that makes me exhausted looking at it.
Yeah.
What is the appeal to this? Is when I watch a trailer, that's what I look for. And this seems like a whole bunch of other movies that have come out. Obviously it's the same movie that's come out several times before. But it's, other movies, modern movies that have come out. It looks very, like a Ridley Scott Gladiator type movie that, it's just, I've seen this so many times. Why do we need to watch it?
Yeah. I think just somebody at the studio was like, but the chariots, imagine what we could do with the chariots.
Yeah. Like it's, that when I look back at the 1960, whatever Ben-Hur, I think, man, we could do that so much better today. Let's make it again.
I mean,
chariots and abs. There's tons of abs in the trailer. It's just abs and chariots. It's the winner. The winner.
Abs of fire.
All right. So Pete's Dragon, do we have anything to say beyond what we said earlier? Like, other than it kind of looks like Jungle Book and all the other movies?
both Pete's Dragon and Jungle Book have a scene of a kid jumping off a cliff. And they look exactly the same.
Little boys and jungles.
Little boys and jungles. You know what to say about that. But like, this one, it's like he's jumping off the cliff and it's like, oh no, he jumped off the cliff. Oh, there's a dragon there to save him. Isn't that great?
I mean, can we stop with the people jumping off of stuff being dramatic? I mean, they do it in every Marvel movie. I think Bucky's done it 17 times so far. And then they do it in, what was that movie? The Star Trek Into Darkness. They did it with Spock on the ship. And I'm so tired of all of it. This is not dramatic anymore. I've seen it.
I know. I don't understand why they keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
They're going to remake Laura Croft, and they're going to have her run and jump off a cliff like it's dramatic.
Exactly. I think there's a couple that I remember off the top of my head right now that we didn't get through on the first few months there. Obviously, I think we've talked a little bit about the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out. That of course isn't going to be exciting at all.
I was kind of trying to avoid talking about it, so thanks.
But I just mention it to mention it. We're not going to talk about it. But the BFG is another one that they came out with a teaser for it. Now, I guess I'm supposed to be really excited about this for some reason. I'm a big Spielberg fan, but what is the deal with it? Is this a big, huge children's book or something like that?
I think it's a book, yeah.
Yeah. And the trailer for it looks pretty cool, but I don't know what to think of it yet. But that's supposed to be a big movie that's coming out.
And anything with Spielberg is at least worth getting interested in, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Spielberg's one of the reasons why I watch movies these days, because he was just one of the. I mean, E.T. was when I was 5 years old, and that's basically ever since I've liked Spielberg movies.
Yeah.
I mean, that I'll be there for it, but I mean, I don't know what we thought about that anyway. That just seemed like a random movie that was thrown in to the summer there.
Yeah,
I think be huge.
There may be some large fan base out there, but it's just for some reason not on our radar. But I felt kind of the same way.
What are some other ones? There's quite a few comedies. I know that what is it? The Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates.
Yeah,
is the one that to me looks like pretty funny to me.
I like all those people.
But yeah, that's the thing. I love Anna Kendrick. I'm going to watch it no matter what, because she's in it. But it's weird to me that Aubrey Plaza and Zac Efron are in yet another comedy together.
Yeah.
Just about 6 months after they did that, Bad Grandpa or Old Dirty Grandpa movie.
Yeah.
It's how in the world does that happen? Just like, oh no, they're back together in another comedy. But that looks pretty funny to me. I'll probably give that one a try.
There's a new Power Rangers movie. Looks like.
Oh yeah, is that something that people still care about? Power Rangers?
I don't know.
No, come on.
Really?
No.
Yeah,
no.
kids still
Okay,
do.
I was about when you said "oh come on," I was like, "Oh, have I been missing the Power Rangers renaissance that's going on?"
Oh, I'm in big a shock as you. I can't believe. Is that true, Barrett?
Yeah, man. Kids are still into that stuff. We had around Halloween, around our neighborhood, we had probably a dozen or more Power Rangers.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Maybe
there
a
has to
parent
be
forcing it on their kid.
there
It's
has to be
possible.
something going on then, right? There has to be a show that's still going, or they've
It's
started.
going on in perpetuity. Yeah, so there's a lot of animated stuff. There's they're replaying the live action stuff on Netflix. And there's a couple of the movies and that kind of thing.
The last movie,
another one that's having a weird renaissance is Scooby Doo. For some
good
reason,
God!
Not interesting.
10 million versions of Scooby Doo on Netflix right now.
Wow. The last Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie came out 21 years ago, and it didn't do anything. It was, it was thrown in June of 95 and it just went away immediately. So I don't get it. Why do we resurrect something that was such a failure back then?
Yeah. Should we move into questions?
Yeah, I think so.
Question. I got something to say.
I want the truth. I'm listening.
All right. So these questions were taken from the fans. The first one I think is going to be maybe really fun to talk about, and it's what fictional movie, restaurant, or food would you most want to try from any movie?
Barrett and Jay, why don't you take it away?
What I like is when characters just get an overabundance of options in food and things like that. For me, it always appealed to me that the meals in the Great Hall in Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
Because they had this crazy bounty of stuff that there was a half of a chicken here and there was a side of a beef there. And then there's, potatoes and all that stuff. And oh man, that was great because it was those rare respites from all of the danger that was lurking behind for all these kids. But they had a chance to where everybody was kind of smiling and it was over a holiday and that kind of thing. That always appealed to me.
And I always wondered about the food waste with those big, huge things. Maybe they magic them away and they just store them, whatever. But of course, if magic were the answer for everything, there wouldn't be any conflict in those movies. But Jay, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mr. Smiley's from American Beauty.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
I love that film, and I can see Francis Underwood, aka Kevin Spacey, just delivering that horrible meal through the drive-through window. I was also, this is from TV, so it's kind of cheating. I'll say another one, but Los Pollos Hermanos from Breaking
man,
Bad.
totally, for sure.
Despite the fact that they're selling some wacky shit from the parking lot, tacos or whatever the hell they served also seemed.
They made it somehow, some way appetizing, even though I don't think we ever saw chicken in the episodes, did we? I don't think we ever saw actual
You might have
chicken.
seen something on somebody's plate once or twice.
But they always made it sound so great. The
Straight time.
advertisements that they put on there, the way they would talk about, of course they were bullshit commercials, just like any other chicken place would do. But they was like, man, I really want to have some of that.
Well, if the kitchen was dirty at all, you would just get killed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And by the way, this is the second week in a row we've cheated by putting Breaking Bad in our movie discussion. But you know what? I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, me too.
Jeremy?
Well, I mean, I feel like we're going to get screamed at, even though this is an obvious choice, if one of us doesn't mention Jackrabbit Slims.
Yeah.
And I would definitely want to eat there. But my real response is Gusteau's from Ratatouille.
Oh, yes.
And I would want the rat to cook me ratatouille. Because, that critic got a heart of gold after eating that meal because he remembered his mommy. I want to feel that.
Yeah, I have to. Number one is Big Night.
It was on my list. I'm glad you're saying it.
Yeah, Big Night is there's nothing makes food look better than than Big Night does. Yeah. And the whole thing's about a restaurant anyway, but they really do a good job with those things making you hungry. Mm-hmm. The other one is Chef, nice. The food truck. Yeah. That was when they started making those things. I was just like, man, can I not have one of those right now? And like usually you watch something on TV or whatever, I can go to Amazon and get that right now. But this you can't order anything off of the Chef's food truck right away. And that stuff looks so good.
Yeah, that movie also I think did a good job of making things look really delicious. And that whole opening where he's trying to be creative and doing all the knife work, that's a really good movie too. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a New York question.
Sure.
Have you or Jay or Jeremy, for that matter, been to Katz's Deli?
Yeah.
No.
Highly overrated. I'm sorry.
Really? So this is the famous When Harry Met Sally scene, right?
Yeah, where she orgasms in the restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an institution. It will never go away. But when you live here, you don't go to places like that. I don't know. Now I feel like a pretentious prick, but it's just true. It's just like, I don't think New Yorkers eat there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does, because that's the thing that New Yorkers take a lot of pride in is not being a tourist. So, the touristy places they avoid, and they avoid museums and stuff like that too, because hey, that's what tourists do. I haven't been to that particular one, but it's amazing if you walk around New York and you're just like super hungry and then you walk into a diner of some sort. Those diners are awesome. Always. They're always good. Like they make an amazing burger almost all the time.
Yeah, that's so true. However, if you eat a hot dog from the street, you deserve to get what's coming to you.
Man, did I ever eat a bunch of hot dogs off the street? But that was good stuff.
I think we already covered your love of hot dogs, Chris, in the movie stories.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so should we move on to another question?
Yeah.
All right, do you want a super film geeky one, or do you want just a general interesting topic one? You get to choose.
Let's do geeky.
All right, what's your favorite Kurosawa film?
Okay, so I went, the local Belcourt Theater had a Kurosawa retrospective a couple years ago. So I've seen probably saw 6 or 7 from that, and then I've seen 3 or 4 others either on TV or a big screen or whatever. But the one that there's a couple. One is Akiru. I think a lot of people talk about Rashomon, of course, and Hidden Fortress because of its, its inspiration to Star Wars and all that. But Akiru is the government as bureaucracy type of thing that, the frustrations involved with trying to get things done in a bureaucracy, and just how much that wastes one's life away and everything. So I really like Akiru. And then there's a movie I'm going to have to look up the title for. I Live in Fear is what it's called.
Ah.
It's about being. You're talking about Japan, post World War II Japan, and a guy who's scared of nuclear war. So that's a really good movie. I don't think I was ever disappointed in any Akira Kurosawa movie that I watched. Almost all of them, even a movie like Ron, which I think was like 85 or something like that, which wasn't one of his best, still really good. So I'd put Akira at the top.
I do choose the cliche and go with Rashomon because of when I saw it. I was like 19, and it was one of my favorite professors showed us this movie in class. And it was a really good time for me to learn about different perspectives, and it was just very formative for me beyond my love of film, but just as who I became and how I come to see the world. It just when I saw it, it just hit me perfect, and it's always stuck as my favorite.
Yeah, it's outstanding. No, there's a reason why that's Rashomon is a sort of a film term now, because anytime a movie does a perspective, different perspective thing, you say it's Rashomon. So,
yeah, I was watching Jackie Brown yesterday, which we praised on here before, but
right.
And there's that sequence when the last exchange goes down, where you see it through everybody's perspective, and then it runs back and goes to a different person's perspective, and even that made me think of Rashomon. So.
Yeah.
Well, then let's move on. I think we can all talk about this one. Movies that changed your mind in a positive way about a director or an actor. One that made you see them in a new light.
Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling, Jeremy, you have this one. I don't want to steal it from you.
No, I don't have any in mind. So go ahead.
Okay. So Ben Affleck is that person for me. Remember when Good Will Hunting came out, the big rumor or the big story was, well, Damon really kind of wrote that, and then Affleck was kind of just there, and they gave, whatever. So Affleck was being pretty disrespected, but of course that whole screenplay has been rumored to have been changed by Gus Van Sant himself into something completely different from what they wrote. So, who knows what was actually going on with that? But Ben Affleck obviously completely disrespected on that. And as he went through his acting career and everything, you were like, man, there's this guy. I mean, he's been good a couple of times, but do we really need Ben Affleck? And then so when he comes out with Gone Baby Gone, I was stunned how great that movie is. I could watch Gone Baby Gone is so good, and everything that he's done since then, The Town and Argo, those are movies that are great. I mean, who would have thought, considering this is the guy that we made fun of for so long with movies like Daredevil and Geely and everything. Didn't look like, Ben Affleck was going to offer something like Gone Baby Gone in his career.
Right.
But didn't we get glimpses of it in Chasing Amy?
Yeah. Back when he was with Kevin Smith, there were flashes there. So Chasing Amy came out the same year as Good Will Hunting. So you're talking about the era of, we don't know what to think of Ben Affleck yet. After that year, he was in Armageddon, and he was in Pearl Harbor, and all these movies that we make fun of him for. So yeah, he had shown flashes. Of course, he was also, as Kevin Smith likes to point out in some of the commentaries and everything, he was also the guy who just beat ass before the Chasing Amy and all that. In Mallrats, he's the bully.
Yeah.
In Dazed and Confused, he's a bully. He's just always he's that guy. But then Chasing Amy does kind of show us something different from him and everything. But then after that, he looks like he's gung-ho about being this movie star. And, we don't see anything like Chasing Amy again after that for a really long time.
Yeah.
I have two that I want to see what you guys think about. An actor changing your perspective. One is Tom Hanks in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
And the other one is Bill Murray in Rushmore.
Yeah.
It's kind of both in the same, these hilarious people that are completely famous for being amazing comedians, dropping on a dime and turning around and turning in, all-star Hall of Fame performances dramatically,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And just as an insert here, Philadelphia is the movie that I think Denzel Washington should have gotten nominated for. I had sort of alluded to, and some of the actors that we didn't get to in that one podcast, but Denzel Washington in Philadelphia should have gotten nominated because he was really good in that. Yeah. And it's one of his best performances, and it didn't get nominated. But yeah, Hanks forever was known as comedy guy, and then here's Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, mine, I have a couple I want to talk about, but and they're strangely related to each other in a lot of ways. The first one is Brad Pitt, and it's he had a little funny stoner moment in True Romance, but basically until the 1-2 punch of 7 and 12 Monkeys, I never considered him an actor. I considered him a pretty boy. And, he had made stuff like Cool World and A River Runs Through It, where he just kind of, A River Runs Through It, where he just has to look pretty for a while.
Right.
But, and Legends of the Fall is kind of the same. But when 7 and then 12 Monkeys hit, I was like, wow, this guy can really, really act.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
My other one is George Clooney, who's made a bunch of movies with Brad Pitt. But up until Out of Sight, he was, again, just kind of a handsome TV star.
With a head bob.
Yeah, but I mean, he did From Dusk Till Dawn, One Fine Day, Batman and Robin, The Peacemaker, all negligible in my book. And then he does Out of Sight, which is one of my very favorite movies ever. We'll not dive too far into it, but the performance there is so layered and textured, and he's so acting in that movie. And that's the first time I saw it.
I forgot about those. Those were like, you kind of always think about Clooney. I always think about Clooney as well. He's been kind of like that for a while, but yeah, you're right. There were those 4 or 5 movies before he did Out of Sight where you're like, he's kind of doing that same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about him. But Clooney is one of the first people that got off of a hit TV show and was the main character on a TV show and somehow translated into a movie star afterwards.
Yeah.
Something that David Caruso tried to do a few years before that and didn't work.
Well, and all the Friends characters tried it, right? Like, Matthew Perry had a couple good ones, but he did that Fools Rush In, and they were all that same era of NBC programming. And Clooney was the first one that really kind of became A-list.
Yeah.
That 12 Monkeys performance just came out of nowhere. I mean, it was the marketed as Bruce Willis's movie and this weird dystopic Terry Gilliam vision and everything. And Brad Pitt comes out of nowhere and really just murders it.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that performance is that Brad Pitt doesn't even like that performance. He said something about, like, I look back on that and he's like, man, I can't look at that movie without saying I should have done this and I should have done that. And I'm sitting there going, man, you did everything perfect to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an incredible movie. For me, I'll be pretty quick here. And there's so many to choose from, but I would say contemporary figures that stand out for me are the Duplass brothers. I don't necessarily. I'm not a huge fan of any specific work that they've put out, but their process of using minuscule budgets and then putting a lot of stuff out and really be willing to fail. I'm reading a quote here from Mark Duplass. He says, "I'm interested to see what happens to Spike Lee with limited resources. I love Spike Lee's movies, but you know what? I kind of liked his movies when he used to scramble and fight more for them." And right. I love that. I love that point of view of, like, I have $20,000. I'm going to make a movie on the weekend. Let's see what happens. And you could see it in some of their work, and I think they're onto something there. So that's who I would say in terms of process and someone who are brothers who are actually changing the game. I think those two.
And it's interesting too that Duplass is they'll make all these. I guess they were one of the pioneers of this mumblecore movement or whatever. Mm-hmm. But Mark Duplass will be in stuff like, The League and Togetherness and these type of movies and everything. I mean, these type of shows, and everything. So he's that guy is, I do like the experimentation. Richard Linklater does that a lot too. where he's like, you know what? I haven't done a movie like this before. Let's try this out and see what happens, So not afraid of failure and everything. And that's I really admire that. That'll be the Sincast for today. This is Chris Atkinson with Jeremy Scott, Barrett Sher, and Jay Lalonde. We're signing off. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com. So you've noticed that we have a new theme music. That is from an artist called L'Orange, who's based in Nashville and has done some amazing work, and we're lucky to have worked with him.
Yes, because it's awesome.
Yeah, well, and go and check his stuff out, because there's a lot of really good stuff. That's what, when he contacted, did he contact Barrett or did he contact Jeremy?
He tweeted out, I don't even think he was trying to contact us. He just tweeted out that he would be interested in doing the music for the podcast.
So however he did it, we went over to his page and started listening to some of the music, and it's like, wow, this is really cool stuff. So go and check him out for sure.
Leave Ben Affleck alone, okay?
You'll suddenly hear, woo! Little boys in the jungle.